Does the 2018 Giant Rain deserve the award of the best budget enduro bike? Let's see. Hey guys, Daily Mountain Bike Rider Josh here, and today I have the new 2018 Giant Rain to review and talk about with you. This is my friend Jesse's bike that he just got about a month ago, and I am lucky enough to have had the 2016 Giant Rain, and I'm really curious if this new rendition of the Rain is worth the price. And this version I'm especially curious about because it is the Giant Rain 2 full aluminum build, and it comes in at $2,700, a price that's pretty hard to beat. But is the price worth it? Well, looking at the components real quickly, the tires, front and rear, are Maxxis. They're pretty nice 27.5 tires because the front is a 2.5 wide trail, which gives a lot more grip, and the rear is also a 2.4. Along with that, notable things, this bike has 160 millimeters of travel front and rear, brought to you by RockShox, and it has a Shimano Dior 1x drivetrain. But interesting thing is it's a 1x10 drivetrain, still being 11 to 42 on the rear cogs. Now, some other companies used to do this, but Shimano is doing this for the Dior line to kind of beat that budget level shifting. Moving up from the bike, everything is pretty standard that you would see in previous generations Rain. Giant handles most of the cockpit. It's got just basic Shimano Dior brakes, Giant dropper seat post, Giant rims, and standard hubs. But the real question that you and I was really curious about was, how does this bike ride compared to the old renditions of the Rain? Now, while most companies are going to the lower, longer, and slacker geometry for their bikes, the only thing Giant did with this new version of the Rain was make it 15 millimeters longer. Along with that, they added a carbon rocker for the rear shock, and they went to a trunnion mounted metric shock. And the reason you do that is that you can provide more shock in that rear, in the front triangle, and it gives more of a linear feel with lower PSI. All the benefits are really there. I felt it in my 2017 Trance, so I was really curious how it was going to ride on this bike. So after getting out there and going on the trails, there was a couple things I really enjoyed about this new Rain. Number one, I felt like the Rain was a lot more playful and yet also a lot more planted. I think that came from having the little bit beefier tires, and I also felt like the suspension, the new Yari up front with that Debon Air, which gives a better negative air spring, so it just pops through the little bump sensitivity better, and having that metric trunnion mounted shock in the back, I felt like the suspension was alive. I felt like I rode a little higher in the travel, but I also felt like it was smoother through the entire travel. Now that could just be setup, but I try to keep my setups on suspension pretty similar, but the bike felt really, really playful. Second thing I really liked, it's a little thing, but I think it's important. Giant finally updated their dropper seat post and their lever, which made for a lot lighter action lever. I felt like the old version of the seat post kind of got annoying or sticky over time, and the lever was always a pain in the butt, but now they've made that more of a non-issue. A third thing I like about the bike is the price point. Coming in at $2,700, that's pretty competitive for a bike that really is a one do-it-all bike. With 160 millimeters of travel, you can go do lift access, you can also go to your local trails or enduro trails, and even do a little bit of cross country. And the best part is, you don't have to sell a kidney in order to get the bike, maybe just a pinky finger. Now, the things I didn't like about the bike. The first off is the drivetrain. Now, I really like Shimano's drivetrains. I ran an SLX 1x11 on my last Giant Trance, but this new 10-speed Dior, I felt like it shifted fine, but I felt like it wasn't as luxury or as crisp shifting as I would like. And I think the issue is the shifter up here on the cockpit. And the bummer is, I felt the same thing about my SLX shifter. I felt like it wasn't very crisp and it was kind of just kind of legs. And so I was able just to upgrade it to a 11-speed XT shifter, which totally fixed it. The problem is they don't make a nice new 10-speed XT shifter. So I felt like Giant missed the mark on that and should have put on a Shimano SLX 1x11-speed drivetrain or gone to the SRAM NX drivetrain most bikes have. Another area I think that the Rain misses it is I don't see that Giant has done anything super innovative for their suspension platform. They still have the Maestro suspension in the back, they still have 160 millimeters of travel, and while there's nothing wrong with that, a lot of bike companies are really pushing to progress their bikes forward to give people something that's going to push them over the edge of new technology that's going to be better in the long term. When it came to riding, this Giant Rain felt just like the 2016 when it came to climbing. It's not a great climber, it's a little sluggish around corners, and it's harder to hold your line, but it did a great job going downhill. This new suspension platform felt more plush and active as I was pedaling or popping off jumps or just floating on the trails, and I really attribute that to RockShox's updated Yari fork and their new rear suspension design. Question you're wondering, it's the one I would be wondering if I was you, is should you buy this bike? If you're looking for a budget enduro bike with about 160 millimeters of suspension, is the new 2018 Giant Rain 2 for you? And here's what I would say. For me personally, I wouldn't buy this bike. Now hear me out before you throw rocks. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Rain. I like the travel, I like the feel of the bike. It really is a good value for the price. But I think if you spend just $300 more, there's a couple other bikes on the market that fix some of those problems that the Rain has, as well as having a little more progressive geometry. I think about bikes like the new Transition Patrol with 170 millimeters up front and 160 out back for $3,000. I think about the new Kona Process 153. Trek's got their Remedy that comes in at $3,300, and Specialized has their Enduro at about the same price. And just for a little bit more money, you can get a 1x11 drivetrain that's pretty standard. You can get a little bit upgraded cockpit and feel of the bike, and a suspension that's a little more active. All in all, with all the problems I said with the Rain, these are all really small things that can be overcome by a bunch of people. A lot of people aren't like me where they've dealt with different shifters or they've ridden newer bikes with new geometry, and they feel totally fine with this 2018 Rain. And I say go for it. You're not gonna have any problems. The bike has high enough components that aren't gonna break. You're gonna be able to plow down any trail. You're gonna have a ton of fun, and you're really not gonna have issues long term with this bike. But if you're like me and you're always looking to be on the front line of technology, getting a bike that you know isn't going to get long in the tooth quickly, I would say maybe look at some of the other options. Anyway, that's it for me, Josh at Daily Mountain Bike Rider, with this 2018 Giant Rain. And I encourage you, go out and test ride one of these new bikes and see how it feels for yourself. If you liked my video, make sure and click the like button and subscribe so you can be up to date with all the videos I post. And please, if you disagree with me or agree with me on anything I said, put a comment down at the bottom. Alright, that's it for me. Don't forget what I always encourage you to do, and it's the thing I need to go do today, and that is go ride your bike. And while you're riding it, try to get out there and ride it every single day.